Do you know that feeling when you're in a room full of people but still feel completely alone? Or when you achieve something you've been dreaming about, but there's still something missing? Hello there. I'm your guide for where hearts rest, and I'm so grateful you've chosen to spend this time with yourself tonight. Last week, I met a friend at a coffee shop. She has the dream job, the beautiful home, the happy family. But she said something that stuck with me. I feel like I'm living on the surface of water, never quite touching the bottom. She described always being in some kind of mode, work mode, mom mode, wife mode, but never knowing who she really is when all those modes are turned off. I'm guessing you know this feeling. The sense that you're skimming through life instead of actually living it. Like you're waiting for someday, when things are less stressful, when everything settles down, to finally take that deep breath and say, okay, now I can really live. But what if I told you that someday is right now? And that deep breath you're waiting for doesn't have to wait until the end of the day? There's an old story about a man sitting by the roadside, crying because he lost his precious diamond ring. A passerby asks, "Where did you lose it?" The man points to his house, inside there. "Then why aren't you looking inside?" "Because it's brighter out here." We're all like that man. We search for peace in the bright places, in success, in checking off our to-do lists, in weekend getaways. But what we're really looking for is right there in the house, in our own body, in our own breath, in this very moment. 2,500 years ago, a young man discovered this truth. He realized that peace isn't a place you arrive at, but a way you breathe. Not something you achieve, but something you remember. And here's the beautiful part. You already have everything you need. Tonight, we're going to explore this secret together. Not by learning something new, but by remembering what you've known since the moment you were born, how to breathe with your whole being. This isn't a lecture. This is an invitation to come home to yourself, to find the peace that moves with you like your own shadow. We'll discover why that restless feeling you know so well isn't a problem to solve, but a doorway to walk through. We'll explore how a simple childhood memory holds the key to a completely different way of being. And we'll learn how every single breath can become a moment of meditation without sitting cross-legged on a cushion or waking up earlier or changing your schedule. By the end of our journey together, you'll have a new companion, your own breath. And this companion will go everywhere with you, carrying a gift, the ability to find peace in any moment, no matter how chaotic life gets. Let your shoulders drop just a little. Let your breathing become a bit more natural. We're about to begin something beautiful. And it starts right here, with your very next breath. Chapter 1. the restless heart. There's a moment in every person's life when we pause in the middle of our hurried existence and ask ourselves, why do I feel this way? Maybe you're standing in your kitchen at 6 a.m., holding a cup of coffee, looking out the window. Everything looks normal, cars moving, life continuing, but inside, there's a quiet whisper, there has to be something more than this. Or maybe it's 3 a.m. and you're lying awake, your mind spinning with unfinished tasks, incomplete conversations, worries about tomorrow. You know you need sleep, but your mind feels like a radio that can't be turned off. This feeling has a name. It's not depression, it's not clinical anxiety. It's simply something we all know but rarely speak about, the restlessness of the human heart. Breathe with me for a moment. Inhale, exhale. Feel how this breath doesn't need your control. It simply is. You know what? This restlessness isn't your fault. It doesn't mean you're ungrateful. It doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're human. And humans are born with hearts that know to long for something deeper, more real, more lasting than what the surface of life can provide. Years ago, I met an elderly man sitting on a park bench. I asked him how he seemed so peaceful, what his secret was. He smiled. Child, when you're young, you think peace means no storms. But real peace is learning to dance with the waves. In that moment, I understood something important. We've misunderstood peace. We think peace means no problems, no stress, no challenges. But actually, peace is finding something unchanging in the midst of change, something quiet in the midst of noise. And that something has been with you all along. It's in this breath. It's in this moment. It's in the quiet presence you carry within you, no matter how chaotic things get outside. Think about the moments in your life when you felt truly peaceful. Not excited happiness, but deep, settled peace. Maybe it was watching a sunset, holding someone close, or simply sitting still and not needing to be anyone at all. What did those moments have in common? That's when you weren't trying to become someone else. You weren't racing against time. You were simply here. That's exactly what the young man I'm about to tell you about discovered. That the peace we're searching for isn't something you have to create. It's something you need to remember. And the way to remember is simpler than you'd expect. 2,500 years ago, in an ancient kingdom, there was a prince named Siddhartha. If you think a prince's life is all parties and power, this story will surprise you. Siddhartha had everything we think would bring happiness. Magnificent palaces, silk clothes, the finest food, the best education. His father planned everything so he could live a perfect life, never having to face suffering. But you know what happens when we try to create a perfect life, don't you? We start to feel like we're living in a golden cage. One night, Siddhartha couldn't sleep. Not because he lacked anything, but because he had too much. He lay on his soft bed, looking up at the intricately decorated ceiling, and felt a strange emptiness. Like when you eat too much candy and feel sick, but this was a sickness of the soul. He asked himself, is this all life has to offer? Have you ever had that feeling? When everything looks good on paper, but inside you still feel like something important is missing? One night, Siddhartha decided to do something everyone would think was crazy. He left the palace. Not to travel or seek adventure, but to find the answer to the question burning in his heart. How do you find real peace? The first thing he did was seek out the most famous teachers of his time. Just like when we read self-help books, take courses, listen to podcasts, searching for someone who can give us the formula for happiness. The first teacher taught him how to focus his mind on a single point. Imagine a candle, the teacher said. Just look at the flame. Think of nothing else. Siddhartha tried. He sat for hours, trying to keep his mind focused only on the candle. And you know what? He was really good at it. He could sit motionless, his mind like a rock, with no thoughts appearing. But when he left there, the world was still the same. The restlessness was still there, just temporarily covered up. The second teacher taught a different method. Rise above all sensations, this teacher said. Don't feel hot, cold, hunger, fullness. Become pure consciousness. Siddhartha learned this way too. He could sit in a state where his mind seemed to dissolve, no longer conscious of his body or the world around him. But once again, when he returned to daily life, the problem was still there. Like taking painkillers, it soothes the pain temporarily, but the cause remains. Frustrated, Siddhartha decided to try the completely opposite approach. If too much comfort didn't bring answers, maybe suffering would. He joined 5 friends in austere practices. They believed that by making the body suffer, they could liberate the soul. They ate only 1 grain of rice a day. They slept on thorns. They breathed in strange ways to control the mind. Siddhartha threw himself into this with complete determination. He became so thin you could see his ribs through his skin. His hair fell out, his skin cracked and darkened. People passing by looked at him with pity and fear. But after 6 years of austerity, he realized something. His mind had become more restless, not more peaceful. The weak body made his mind agitated, harder to control. One morning, as he sat by the river, he heard music from a passing boat. Someone was teaching a student how to tune a stringed instrument. "If you make the string too tight," the teacher said, "it will break. If you leave it too loose, there will be no sound." Music only comes when the string is tuned just right. In that moment, Siddhartha understood something profound. He had tried two extremes, too much comfort and too much suffering. But maybe the answer lay somewhere in between. A middle way. That day, when a girl named Sujata brought him a bowl of milk porridge, he decided to accept it. His 5 austere friends felt betrayed and left him. They thought he had given up. But actually, he was just beginning. Let's pause here for a moment. Breathe with me. Do you see yourself in this story? Have you ever tried extremes? Sometimes trying to control everything, sometimes giving up completely. Sometimes working to exhaustion, sometimes avoiding all responsibility. We've all been there. And like Siddhartha, we're all searching for that just right, a way to live that's not too tense but not indifferent, a way to breathe that's not too shallow but not too forced. The next part of the story will show us how he found that. And the wonderful thing is, what he found wasn't something he had to create, but something he remembered from long, long ago. Now, let's bring that ancient story into today's life. You may not be a prince, but I bet you understand his feeling. Maybe you've had moments sitting in your car after work, holding the keys but not yet going inside, just sitting there in silence. Wondering, what am I doing? Is this the life I want? Or maybe you've woken up on a Sunday morning, looked around your beautiful room, refrigerator full of food, phone showing dozens of notifications from friends, but still felt empty. We live in the age with the most choices in human history. We can order food from any country and it'll arrive at our door in 30 minutes. We can connect with friends anywhere in the world with just a tap. We can watch any movie, read any book, learn any skill with just a few clicks. So why do we feel more confused than ever? Like Siddhartha in his palace, we're experiencing what psychologists call the paradox of choice. When we have too many options, our brains become overloaded. We start feeling like we're always missing out on something better. Try breathing deeply for a moment. Feel how breath doesn't need choices. It just knows how to breathe. I once talked to a friend who works in tech. He told me, I have my dream job, high salary, working with the smartest people in the world. But I feel like a hamster on a wheel. I run faster, do more, but never reach the destination. He described always feeling the need to upgrade himself, learning new skills, taking training courses, reading productivity books, trying new meditation apps. Like Siddhartha going from teacher to teacher, searching for the perfect formula. And then one day, he said, I realized I had become a to-do item on my own to-do list. Do you have that feeling? Like you yourself are just a project that needs to be perfected, a problem that needs to be solved? In the modern world, we have two types of austerity. Not the physical kind like Siddhartha, but mental austerity. The first type is performance austerity. We push ourselves to the limit, working 12 hours a day, constantly checking email, always feeling we need to do more, faster, better. We believe that if we just try hard enough, we'll reach that permanent state of happiness. The second type is perfection austerity. We try to control everything, eat perfectly, exercise perfectly, have perfect relationships, raise children perfectly. We create strict rules for ourselves and feel guilty when we don't follow them. And just like Siddhartha discovered, both approaches make the mind more restless, not more peaceful. But there's a third way. A path that doesn't require us to add anything to our lives, nor take anything away. It only asks us to remember something very simple. Think about the moment you felt most peaceful this past week. I bet it wasn't when you were trying to accomplish multiple things at once, nor when you were worrying about the future or regretting the past. Maybe it was when you were drinking coffee and watching the rain fall. Or when you hugged someone tight. Or those moments just before sleep, when your mind finally became quiet. What made those moments special? That's when you weren't trying to be anywhere else but where you were. You weren't trying to become anyone else but who you already are. That's exactly what Siddhartha was about to discover under the Bodhi tree. And the wonderful thing is, you don't need to sit under a tree for 6 years to find it. After accepting the bowl of porridge from Sujata, Siddhartha felt strength return to his body. But more importantly, he felt a new clarity in his mind. He walked to a large tree by the riverbank, the tree that people would later call the Bodhi tree. Not because this tree was special, but because of what was about to happen under its canopy. As he sat down, he remembered a memory from childhood that he had almost forgotten. He was young, maybe 7 or 8 years old. It was the ploughing festival day in the kingdom. Everyone was participating, dancing, singing, eating. But young Siddhartha felt a bit overwhelmed by all the noise and commotion. He found a large tree to sit under and rest. No plan, no purpose. Just simply sitting in the shade, watching people celebrate from a distance. And then something magical happened. While sitting there, not trying to do anything at all, he began to feel a different kind of joy. Not the excited joy of the festival, but a quiet, deep joy. Like a cool spring had begun flowing from inside his heart. He wasn't thinking about anything special. His mind was still active. He noticed distant laughter, felt the wind through his hair, smelled grass and earth. But all these sensations seemed wrapped in a kind of peace he had never known. Most importantly, he wasn't trying to create this feeling. It simply appeared. Like when you stop trying to remember a name and it naturally pops into your head. That memory lasted only a few hours, and then he forgot about it. Royal life continued, with all its rules and expectations. But now, sitting under the Bodhi tree, he remembered. That's it, he thought. That's what I've been searching for. Not some special state of mind. Not the disappearance of all thoughts. Not a feeling of excitement or mysticism. But a natural kind of peace that appears when we stop trying to force it to happen. Sitting under the tree, Siddhartha began to breathe naturally. Not following any special technique, not counting breaths, not trying to control the rhythm. Simply letting breath be as it wanted to be. And once again, that feeling of peace began to appear. This time, he watched it carefully. He noticed that when he didn't try to push thoughts away, they naturally settled down. When he didn't try to create special feelings, natural feelings began to arise. That's when he understood something that would change how the world understands meditation. Meditation isn't about adding something to life. It's not a skill to learn, a goal to achieve, or a state to create. Meditation is remembering how to let things be as natural as they already are. Just like breathing. You don't need to learn how to breathe. You've known how to do that since birth. You just need to remember how to let it happen naturally, without forcing. Try it right now. Don't try to breathe deeply or slowly. Just let breath be as it wants to be. Notice that it's been there all along, patiently waiting for your attention. This is the first discovery that would lead to all the other insights. That the peace we're searching for isn't somewhere far away. It's right here, in this breath, in this moment, in the way we allow ourselves to simply be. And the most wonderful thing, you've already had moments like that. Maybe you just haven't recognized them for what they truly are, doorways opening to a completely different way of living. And now, let me take you deeper into that childhood memory, the memory that changed how we understand the nature of joy and peace. Chapter 2: The Great Discovery. There are some memories that shape us without us even knowing it. They live quietly in the background of our lives, like a song we can't quite remember, but whose melody still makes us feel something deep. For Siddhartha, sitting under that tree by the river, one such memory was about to change everything. Let me paint you a picture of that childhood day, because I have a feeling you'll recognize something familiar in it. It was the spring ploughing festival, and the entire kingdom was alive with celebration. Imagine the most joyful community gathering you've ever been to. Music flowing from every corner, the smell of delicious food drifting through the air, children running and laughing, adults dancing with abandon. The whole world seemed to be smiling. Young Siddhartha was dressed in his finest clothes, as befitted a prince. His parents expected him to participate, to smile and wave, to be the perfect royal child. And he tried. He really did. But have you ever been in a situation where everyone around you was having the time of their lives and you felt overwhelmed? Not sad, not angry, just too much? Like your nervous system was saying, "This is beautiful, but I need a moment to breathe." That's exactly how little Siddhartha felt. The joy was real, the celebration was genuine, but something in him needed space. Needed quiet. So he did what many of us wish we could do in overwhelming moments. He quietly slipped away. He found a rose apple tree at the edge of the festival grounds. Not because he was running away from the joy, but because he needed to find his own relationship with it. The tree offered shade and a gentle distance from the celebration, close enough to hear the music, far enough to breathe. And here's where the story becomes magical, and where I think you'll see yourself. Siddhartha sat down in the most natural way possible. Not in any special meditation posture. He was just a child after all. He simply sat with his back against the tree, legs crossed comfortably, watching the festival unfold before him. At first, his mind was doing what our minds always do. Thinking about this, noticing that, planning what to do next. But as he sat there, something began to shift. The sounds of the festival, the laughter, the music, the distant conversations, instead of feeling overwhelming, began to feel like they were part of a beautiful tapestry. Like he was sitting in the center of life itself, but with perfect distance to appreciate it all. And then his breathing began to change. Not because he was trying to change it, but because something in him relaxed so deeply that his breath naturally became slower, deeper, more settled. Have you ever noticed what happens to your breathing when you're completely absorbed in something beautiful? maybe watching a sunset, or listening to a piece of music that moves you. Your breath doesn't disappear, but it becomes so natural, so effortless, that you're barely aware of it. That's what happened to young Siddhartha. His breath became like a gentle wave, flowing in and out without any effort or attention from him. And as his breathing settled, something extraordinary began to happen in his chest. A feeling began to arise that he had no words for. It wasn't excitement. Excitement is jumpy, restless. This was the opposite. It wasn't happiness in the way we usually think of happiness, jumping up and down, celebrating. This was deeper. Imagine the feeling of coming home after a long journey, but instead of coming home to a place, you're coming home to yourself. That's the closest I can come to describing what he felt. The festival continued around him, but now it felt like he was watching life from a place of complete safety. Like he was held by something invisible but absolutely reliable. The sounds, the sights, even his own thoughts, everything seemed to be happening within this vast, loving space. And here's the most important part. He wasn't trying to make this happen. He wasn't following a technique, repeating a mantra, or concentrating on anything special. He was simply allowing. Allowing the breath to breathe itself. Allowing the sounds to be sounds. Allowing his thoughts to come and go like clouds in the sky. Allowing himself to just be a child, sitting under a tree, being exactly where he was. Time seemed to stretch and dissolve. He might have been there for 20 minutes or 2 hours. He had no idea. When you're truly present, time becomes irrelevant. But then something brought him back to ordinary awareness. Maybe his parents calling for him, maybe the sun shifting and the shade moving. The spell, if you can call it that, gently lifted. And you know what happened next? Nothing dramatic. He got up, brushed the dirt off his clothes, and rejoined the festival. He played with other children, ate some sweets, participated in the celebration. But something had changed. For the rest of that day, he carried that feeling with him like a secret treasure. Not the intense version he'd experienced under the tree, but a gentle echo of it. A knowing that there was another way to be in the world. And then, life happened. Royal duties resumed. Lessons began again. The structured world of palace life wrapped around him with its rules and expectations and preparations for his future role as king. And gradually, like sand covering a jewel, the memory of that afternoon became buried under layers of should-dos and must-bes and preparations for becoming someone important. But the jewel was still there. Now, 20-some years later, sitting under a different tree as an exhausted seeker who had tried everything. That memory surfaced like a bubble rising from the bottom of a deep pond. And with it came a revelation that would change not just his life, but our entire understanding of what it means to find peace. Breathe with me for a moment. Feel your back against whatever you're sitting on. Notice the sounds around you, maybe traffic, maybe birds, maybe the hum of appliances. Notice how your breath is breathing you right now, without any effort on your part. Do you feel it? That possibility that's always there. The possibility of settling into this moment exactly as it is, without needing to change anything or fix anything or become anyone different. That possibility isn't something special or mystical. It's as natural as gravity, as available as the air you're breathing. It's been waiting for you your entire life, just like it was waiting for that little boy under the tree. The only question is, are you ready to remember what you've always known? Here's something beautiful and heartbreaking about being human. We're born knowing how to be present, and then we spend most of our lives learning how to be anywhere else. Think about any young child you know. Watch them when they're completely absorbed in something, building with blocks, watching an ant crawl across the sidewalk, splashing in a puddle. They're not thinking about whether they're doing it right, not planning what to do next, not comparing their puddle splashing technique to anyone else's. They're just there. Completely, utterly there. What happened to that ability? When did we learn to trade presence for productivity, being for becoming? Let me tell you about the first time someone probably asked you, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" You might have been 5 years old, perfectly content being exactly who you were in that moment. Maybe you were coloring, lost in the pure joy of watching a green crayon create grass on white paper. And then an adult, probably with the best intentions, pulled you out of that perfect contentment to think about the future. What do you want to be when you grow up? And just like that, you learned that who you are right now isn't enough. That you need to become something else, something more, something worthy. This is what happened to young Siddhartha too. After that magical afternoon under the tree, he returned to a world that was constantly preparing him to be someone else. A king. A leader. A person of importance and responsibility. No one meant any harm. His parents, his teachers, everyone around him loved him and wanted the best for him. But in their well-meaning efforts to prepare him for his future, they accidentally taught him to abandon his present. Sound familiar? We live in a culture that's absolutely obsessed with becoming. Becoming successful. Becoming happy. Becoming enlightened. Becoming the best version of ourselves. We have apps to track our progress, books about optimization, courses on transformation. And somehow, in all this becoming, we've forgotten the radical simplicity of just being. Let me share something with you. Last week, I was walking past a playground and I saw a little girl, maybe 4 years old, sitting on a swing. But she wasn't swinging. She was just sitting there, completely still, looking up at the clouds. Her grandmother came over and said, "Sweetie, don't you want to swing? That's what swings are for." The little girl looked at her with such clarity and said, "I am swinging, Grandma. I'm swinging with the clouds." In that moment, I saw exactly what we lose as we grow up. We lose the ability to find joy in unexpected places. We lose the trust that our natural instincts towards stillness and wonder are valuable. We learn that everything should have a purpose, a goal, a measurable outcome. We learn that sitting under a tree is wasting time unless we're being productive. Unless we're meditating to reduce stress, or thinking to solve problems, or planning to achieve goals. But what if sitting under a tree is already perfect exactly as it is? What if the breath you're breathing right now is already exactly what you need? What if this moment, however ordinary it seems, is already complete? Here's what I've noticed about adults. We've become terrified of being ordinary. We think peace should feel extraordinary. We think joy should be dramatic. We think presence should come with fireworks and profound realizations. But remember that little boy under the tree? His great discovery wasn't dramatic at all. It was as ordinary as breathing, as simple as sitting in the shade, as natural as allowing life to be exactly what it was in that moment. The revolutionary thing wasn't what he did. It was what he didn't do. He didn't try to make the moment special. He didn't force himself to feel grateful. He didn't analyze whether he was having a spiritual experience. He didn't compare it to anything else. He just was. And that just being opened a doorway to a kind of contentment that no amount of trying or achieving or becoming could ever provide. But we forget this. We forget it because we're taught that our value lies in our productivity. Our worth is measured by our achievements. Our happiness depends on our circumstances. We forget it because sitting still feels lazy in a culture that glorifies busyness. We forget it because being content with what is feels like giving up in a world that insists we should always be striving for more. We forget it because silence feels empty when we're used to constant stimulation. We forget it because simplicity feels boring when we're addicted to complexity. And most of all, we forget it because we're afraid. Afraid that if we stop trying so hard, nothing will happen. Afraid that if we stop running toward happiness, it will never find us. Afraid that if we stop being someone important, we'll discover we're no one at all. But what if the opposite is true? What if the happiness we're chasing is actually trying to catch up to us, but we're running too fast to let it? What if the peace we're seeking is already here, but we're too busy looking for it to notice? What if the someone we're trying to become is already who we are, just beneath all the trying? Take a breath with me. A simple, ordinary breath. Don't make it special. Don't make it deep, or long, or perfect. Just let it be exactly what it is. Feel how it doesn't need your improvement. Feel how it's already complete. Feel how it's been taking care of you your entire life, without any help from your thinking mind. That breath knows something we've forgotten. It knows how to be exactly what it is, exactly when it is, without apology or enhancement. And if you listen closely enough, it might just remind you that you know how to do that too. Now we come to the moment that changed everything. Not just for Siddhartha, but for anyone who has ever felt that restless hunger for something real. Sitting under the Bodhi tree, remembering that childhood experience, he had what might be the most important realization in human history. And the beautiful thing is, it's so simple that you might be tempted to dismiss it. He realized that meditation isn't something you do. It's something you stop doing. Let me explain what I mean, because this insight turns everything we think we know about finding peace completely upside down. For years, Siddhartha had been trying to meditate, trying to focus his mind, trying to control his thoughts, trying to achieve special states, trying to become enlightened. All that trying was like trying to make the sunset happen faster by staring at it really hard. The harder you try, the further away you get from the natural process that's already unfolding. But that day as a child, he hadn't been trying to do anything. He hadn't been trying to meditate, trying to be peaceful, trying to have a spiritual experience. He had simply allowed himself to be exactly where he was, and peace had found him. The difference is enormous, and most of us completely miss it. We think meditation is about adding something to our experience, adding concentration, adding awareness, adding peace. But what if it's actually about subtracting? Subtracting the effort, subtracting the trying, subtracting all the ways we interfere with what's already here. Think about your breath right now. You don't have to make it happen. You don't have to remember to breathe. You don't have to monitor it, or improve it, or perfect it. It's breathing you, completely naturally, requiring absolutely nothing from your conscious mind. That's what real meditation is like. Not something you do, but something you allow to happen. Not a technique you apply, but a naturalness you remember. Siddhartha realized that every meditation technique he had learned, all the concentration practices, all the visualization methods, all the breathing exercises, were like trying to polish a mirror that was already perfectly clear. The polishing was creating the cloudiness. This was revolutionary because it meant that peace isn't something you achieve. It's something you uncover. It's not something you create. It's something you discover was already there. It meant that all those hours of struggling with his mind, trying to make it still, trying to make it peaceful, were actually making it more agitated. Like trying to smooth water by pressing down on it with your hands. But what happens when you stop pressing down on the water? It naturally becomes still. What happens when you stop trying to control your thoughts? They naturally begin to settle. What happens when you stop trying to force yourself to be present? Presence reveals itself as what you already are. This is why that childhood experience was so important. Because he wasn't trying to be present, he just was. He wasn't trying to be peaceful. Peace was simply what remained when he stopped trying to be anything else. Breathe with me for a moment. Notice that you don't have to try to breathe. Notice that you don't have to remember to let the breath in or remember to let it out. It's happening completely by itself. Can you feel the intelligence in that? The wisdom of your body that knows exactly what to do without any input from your thinking mind. That same intelligence is what Siddhartha tapped into that night under the tree. Not the intelligence of the thinking mind, but the deeper intelligence of simply being alive, being here, being breath and heartbeat, and awareness itself. He discovered what we might call meditation without meditating. Presence without trying to be present. Peace without trying to be peaceful. And here's what makes this truly revolutionary. It means that meditation isn't something you have to set aside time for. It isn't something you have to go to a special place to do. It isn't something that requires years of training or perfect conditions. It's as available as your next breath. As natural as letting your shoulders drop. As simple as allowing this moment to be exactly what it is, without trying to make it different. This doesn't mean we never sit quietly or practice formal meditation. But it means we understand that the formal practice is just a way of remembering what's always available. It's like learning to swim in a pool so you can enjoy the ocean. Think about it this way. Have you ever been so absorbed in something beautiful that you forgot you were even there? Maybe listening to music, or watching a sunset, or holding someone you love. In those moments, You weren't trying to be present. You were just absorbed, natural, here. That's the meditation that breathes with you. That's the peace that doesn't need to be created because it's the very space in which all experiences arise. But here's what's so beautiful about this insight. It means that every single moment of your life is an opportunity to remember. Every breath is a doorway. Every sound you hear, every sensation you feel, every thought that passes through your mind, all of it can become a gateway to this natural presence. You don't have to wait until you have time to meditate. You don't have to wait until you're in the right mood or the right place. You don't have to wait until you've learned the right technique or read the right book. You can remember right now. In this breath, in this moment of listening, in the simple, ordinary, completely available experience of being exactly where you are. And the most beautiful part? The more you remember this natural way of being, the more it begins to remember you. It starts showing up in unexpected moments. While you're washing dishes, while you're walking to your car, while you're falling asleep. It becomes not something you do, but something you are. Not a practice you have, but a way you breathe with life itself. Now I want to invite you into the same discovery that changed everything for that young seeker under the tree. But we're not going to try to meditate. We're not going to try to be peaceful. We're simply going to remember what you already know. Find a comfortable way to be right now. You don't need to sit in any special position. You don't need to close your eyes unless you want to. You just need to be exactly where you are, exactly as you are. Let's start with the most obvious thing, your breathing. You don't need to change your breath in any way. Don't make it deeper or slower or more special. Just notice that breathing is happening. Feel the breath coming in and going out. Notice that you don't have to make this happen. It's already happening. It's been happening your entire life without you having to remember or try or figure out how to do it. Can you sense the intelligence in that? Your body knows exactly how much oxygen you need, exactly when to breathe in and when to breathe out, exactly how to keep you alive without any help from your thinking mind. Now, still breathing naturally, notice that you're also hearing. Maybe there are sounds around you, traffic, voices, music, the hum of appliances. You don't have to listen to them or pay attention to them in any special way. Just notice that hearing is happening too. Just like breathing, hearing is completely natural. You're not making it happen. Your ears are simply open to whatever sounds are here. Some sounds might be pleasant, others might be annoying. That's okay. You don't need to judge them or change them. Just let them be part of the whole experience. And notice that you're also feeling. Maybe the temperature of the air on your skin, maybe the texture of whatever you're sitting on, maybe sensations inside your body. Again, you don't need to do anything with these feelings. Just notice that feeling is happening too. So here you are, breathing naturally, hearing naturally, feeling naturally. All of this is happening without any effort from you. It's just here. Now notice that there's something that's aware of all of this. Something that knows about the breathing, knows about the hearing, knows about the feeling. That knowing awareness doesn't have to try to be aware. It's already aware. It's always been aware. This awareness, this simple knowing that you're here, that experience is happening, this is what was there for that little boy under the tree. Not as something special or mystical, but as the most natural thing in the world. Can you feel how this awareness is perfectly still? Not still because it's trying to be still, but still like the sky is still, even when clouds are moving through it. The breathing changes, the sounds change, the sensations change, but the awareness of them remains perfectly present, perfectly here. This awareness doesn't need you to improve it, or develop it, or train it. It doesn't need you to concentrate harder, or relax more deeply. It's already complete, already perfect, already exactly what it is. And here's the beautiful secret. This awareness isn't something you have. It's what you are. You are the space in which all these experiences are happening. You are the stillness in which all the movement occurs. This is the meditation that breathes with you. Not something you do for 20 minutes in the morning, but what you are every moment of every day. Whether you're washing dishes, or driving to work, or falling asleep at night. Take a moment to let this settle in. You don't need to understand it with your mind. You don't need to figure out how it works or whether you're doing it right. Just let yourself rest in this simple, natural awareness that's always been here. Feel how effortless this is. Feel how nothing needs to be different for this to be true. Feel how this moment, exactly as it is already complete. This is what that ancient seeker discovered under his tree. Not a technique or a method or a special state, but the remembering of what had always been true. The recognition of what he had always been, beneath all the seeking and trying and becoming. And now you've tasted it too. This natural presence that doesn't come and go, even though experiences come and go within it. This peace that doesn't depend on circumstances being different, because it's the very space in which all circumstances arise. The invitation now is simple. See if you can remember this throughout your day. Not as something you have to maintain or preserve, but as something you can return to, like returning home. When you feel stressed, remember that the awareness of stress is perfectly calm. When you feel busy, remember that the awareness of busyness is perfectly still. When you feel lost, remember that the awareness of feeling lost always knows exactly where it is. You don't have to be perfect at this. You don't have to remember constantly. The very fact that you forget and then remember again is part of the natural rhythm, like breathing in and breathing out. And gradually, so gradually you might not even notice, this remembering will become as natural as breathing itself. This peace will start breathing with you, walking with you, living with you. Because it's not something you acquired today. It's something you've always been. You're just remembering how to let it be. And this natural awareness, this meditation that breathes with you, has depths that we've barely begun to explore. In our next part of the journey, we'll discover how this simple recognition opens into 4 chambers of ever-deepening rest. Chapter 4: When Meditation Becomes Life. There's a moment in every spiritual journey when you realize that the real practice doesn't happen on the meditation cushion. It happens when you get up from the cushion and walk back into your life. For Siddhartha, that moment came after his great awakening under the Bodhi tree. After experiencing those profound states of natural peace, after understanding the revolutionary simplicity of just being present, he faced the same question we all face: now what? He could have stayed under that tree forever, dwelling in those beautiful states of inner stillness. In fact, according to the ancient stories, he was tempted to do exactly that. Why return to the messy, complicated world when you found perfect peace? But something deeper called to him. A recognition that true awakening isn't about escaping life. It's about discovering that life itself is the meditation. Let me tell you about a conversation I had with my neighbor last month. She's a working mother of 2, juggling a demanding job, aging parents, and all the beautiful chaos that comes with modern life. I went to a meditation retreat last year, she told me over coffee. For 5 days, I felt the most peaceful I'd ever felt in my life. But within a week of coming home, I was right back to feeling stressed and scattered. It was like the meditation was something I could only do in special circumstances. I hear this so often. People have profound experiences in meditation, whether it's 5 minutes of morning practice or a week-long retreat, but they struggle to bridge that peace into their actual lives. And I understand why. We've been taught to think of meditation as something separate from life. We set aside special times, create special spaces, assume special postures. We think of it as a refuge from life rather than a way of living life itself. But what if we've got it backwards? What if life is trying to teach us how to meditate, rather than meditation being an escape from life? Think about those moments when you felt most present and alive. I bet they weren't necessarily during formal meditation. Maybe it was while holding your newborn child, watching them sleep. Maybe it was during a difficult conversation when your heart was completely open. Maybe it was while walking in nature after receiving challenging news. What made those moments so present? It wasn't that you were trying to be mindful. It was that life itself demanded your complete attention. Life was asking you to show up fully, and you said yes. This is what Siddhartha discovered as he sat under that tree. The peace he found wasn't separate from the sounds of the world around him, the birds singing, the river flowing, the wind in the leaves. The peace included all of it. It was found through engaging with life, not by withdrawing from it. But here's where it gets interesting. When he finally got up from under that tree, he didn't suddenly become a different person walking through a different world. He was the same person, walking through the same world, but with a completely different relationship to it all. The meditation had taught him something that would change everything, how to be intimate with life without being overwhelmed by it. How to be completely present without losing himself in the chaos. How to participate fully while remaining inwardly free. Let me share what this looks like in practical terms, because this is where the ancient wisdom meets your Tuesday afternoon. You're driving home from work, and traffic is heavy. Normally, this might trigger frustration, impatience, maybe some unkind thoughts about other drivers. But with this new understanding, the traffic jam becomes a meditation hall. You notice that you're breathing. You notice the sensation of your hands on the steering wheel. You notice the play of light and shadow as clouds move across the sun. You notice your thoughts about being late, and instead of fighting them or feeding them, you just notice them. You're not trying to be spiritual about the traffic jam. You're not forcing yourself to be grateful for the delay. You're simply present with what is, allowing your natural awareness to include everything without resistance. And something remarkable happens. The situation hasn't changed. Traffic is still slow. You might still be late, but your relationship to it has completely transformed. Instead of being a victim of circumstances, you've become a conscious participant in life as it's actually happening. This is the meditation that breathes with you. Not something you do in addition to your life, but a way of being alive that includes everything, the easy and the difficult, the planned and the unexpected, the pleasant and the challenging. But let's be honest about something. This isn't always easy. In fact, sometimes it's much harder than sitting quietly on a cushion for 20 minutes. When your teenager is screaming at you because you won't let them go to a party, it's challenging to remember that this moment is also a doorway to presence. When you're dealing with a difficult boss or facing financial pressure or caring for a sick family member, the last thing you want to hear is that this is your meditation practice. But here's what I've learned. It's exactly in these moments that the real transformation happens. Not because we're supposed to enjoy difficult situations, but because we're learning to find our center in the midst of the storm. Remember that child under the tree? He wasn't in a peaceful environment. There was a festival going on around him. Noise, chaos, celebration, probably some crying children and frustrated parents too. But he found his peace not by blocking out the chaos, but by finding his natural stillness within it. That's the skill we're learning. Not how to control our circumstances, but how to remain connected to our essential peace, regardless of what's happening around us. Think of it like this. Imagine you're a tree. When strong winds come, a rigid tree breaks. But a flexible tree bends with the wind and remains rooted. The flexibility isn't weakness, it's wisdom. It's knowing how to stay grounded while moving with life's changes. This is what we're cultivating. Not a peace that requires everything to be perfect, but a peace that can dance with imperfection. Not a presence that only works in quiet moments, but a presence that can remain aware in the middle of chaos. And here's the beautiful thing. The more you practice this way of being, the more you realize that there is no separation between meditation and life. Every moment becomes a teacher. Every interaction becomes an opportunity to practice presence. Every challenge becomes a chance to deepen your understanding of what it means to be truly awake. You start to see that washing dishes mindfully isn't just about clean dishes. It's about the joy of warm water on your hands and the simple satisfaction of completing a task with attention. Walking to your car isn't just transportation. It's an opportunity to feel your feet on the ground and notice the sky above your head. Listening to a friend who's going through a hard time isn't just being supportive. It's practicing the deepest meditation of all, pure, loving attention without agenda. This is when meditation becomes life, and life becomes meditation. When the boundary between practice and living dissolves completely. When you realize that you don't have to wait for special moments to be awake, you can be awake to whatever moment you're actually in. Now we come to perhaps the most beautiful part of this ancient discovery, the part that Siddhartha would later teach as vipassana, but I want to share it with you, not as a foreign concept, but as something you already know how to do. Vipassana simply means to see clearly. But what are we seeing? And how does this seeing transform everything? Let me tell you about an experience I had last winter that taught me something profound about the power of loving witnessing. I was visiting a friend who was going through a devastating divorce. She was sitting on her couch, tears streaming down her face, telling me about the loneliness, the fear, the sense that her whole life was falling apart. My first instinct was to try to fix something, to offer advice, to remind her of her strength, to point out the positive aspects of her situation. But something in me knew that wasn't what she needed. Instead, I just witnessed. I let my heart completely open to her pain without trying to change it, or solve it, or make it better. I offered her the gift of pure, loving attention. And something beautiful happened. In the space of being truly seen and heard, without judgment or agenda, she began to find her own center. Not because I did anything, but because she was met with the kind of presence that allows people to meet themselves. That's the witnessing heart that Siddhartha discovered. It's not cold or detached observation. It's the warmest, most intimate form of love, the love that sees everything clearly and accepts everything completely. But here's where it gets really interesting. We can offer this same quality of loving witness to our own experience. Think about the last time you were really upset about something. Maybe angry, maybe anxious, maybe deeply sad. What was your relationship to those feelings? If you're like most of us, you probably tried to either push them away or get lost in them. Either I shouldn't feel this way, or this feeling is the truth about everything. But there's a third option, and it's revolutionary. You can witness your own feelings with the same loving attention you would offer a dear friend. Let's try this right now. Bring to mind something that's been bothering you lately. Nothing too overwhelming, just something that's been sitting in the background of your awareness, creating a little tension or worry. Got it? Now, instead of thinking about the situation or trying to solve the problem, just notice what you're feeling in your body right now. Maybe tension in your shoulders, maybe a tight feeling in your chest, maybe a churning in your stomach. Instead of trying to make these sensations go away, what if you could place a gentle, loving attention on them? Like a parent comforting a child, not by making the child's distress disappear, but by offering such complete presence that the child feels safe to feel whatever they're feeling. Can you sense the difference? When we fight our feelings or get lost in them, they seem to have all the power. But when we witness them with loving awareness, something shifts. The feelings are still there, but they're held within something larger and more stable. This is the witnessing heart in action. It's not trying to change anything or fix anything. It's simply offering the medicine of pure presence to whatever is arising. And here's what's miraculous. This quality of loving witness naturally extends outward. When you've learned to meet your own difficult emotions with compassion, you spontaneously become more patient with other people's struggles. When you've stopped judging your own fears and anxieties, you naturally stop judging others for theirs. This is what happened to Siddhartha under the tree. As he learned to witness his own mind with complete acceptance, watching thoughts arise and pass away, watching feelings come and go, watching the whole dance of human experience without pushing any of it away, he developed what we could call a witnessing heart. But let me be clear about something. This witnessing isn't passive. It's not about becoming indifferent or detached from life. It's about becoming so present, so intimately connected with what's actually happening, that you can respond from wisdom rather than react from habit. When your child is having a meltdown in the grocery store, the witnessing heart doesn't pretend everything is fine. It acknowledges the stress, the embarrassment, the frustration, both yours and your child's, and from that place of clear seeing, it can respond with both firmness and compassion. When you're facing a difficult decision at work, the witnessing heart doesn't ignore the complexity or the potential consequences. It sees clearly what's at stake, acknowledges the fear and uncertainty, and from that foundation of honest awareness, it can access a deeper wisdom about what action to take. This is active compassion, not passive observation. It's love in its most intelligent form. And here's perhaps the most beautiful part. The more you practice this loving witness with your own experience, the more you begin to see that this witnessing awareness isn't something you do, it's what you are. You are not your thoughts, you are the awareness that knows thoughts are happening. You are not your emotions, you are the loving space in which emotions arise and pass away. You are not your circumstances, you are the consciousness that experiences circumstances. This isn't a philosophical concept to think about. It's a living reality to be discovered. And you can discover it right now in this moment by simply noticing that you are aware. Aware of reading these words. Aware of breathing. Aware of sitting or standing or lying down. Aware of sounds. Aware of sensations. Aware of thoughts and feelings as they come and go. This awareness that you are, it's never disturbed by what it's aware of. It remains perfectly present whether you're experiencing joy or sorrow, peace or agitation, clarity or confusion. And this awareness loves everything it sees. Not because everything is wonderful, but because love is its very nature. Like the sun that shines equally on flowers and weeds, beautiful landscapes and garbage dumps, this witnessing awareness embraces all experience with the same unconditional presence. This is the heart of what the ancient teachers were pointing to. Not a special state you achieve through years of practice, but the recognition of what you've always been. The loving awareness that has been present for every experience you've ever had, witnessing it all with infinite patience and unconditional acceptance. The most profound spiritual practices, aren't always the ones that look spiritual from the outside. Sometimes the deepest meditation happens while you're making breakfast or walking to your car or listening to a friend. Let me share with you how ordinary life becomes a continuous prayer, a constant meditation when we remember what we learned under that ancient tree. This morning, I made coffee. Nothing special about that. I make coffee most mornings. But today, as I watched the water heat and listened to the first bubbling sounds, I remembered something. This moment has never existed before and will never exist again. The exact quality of morning light coming through my kitchen window. The particular sound of my neighbor starting their car. The specific way the steam rose from my cup. All of it completely unique, completely unrepeatable, completely here. And suddenly, making coffee became a sacred act. Not because I tried to make it sacred, but because I remembered that everything is sacred when we're truly present with it. This is what changes when meditation becomes life. We begin to see that there are no ordinary moments, only moments we're present for and moments we miss. Think about your daily routine. You probably brush your teeth every morning. But when was the last time you were actually present while brushing your teeth? Really feeling the bristles against your gums, tasting the toothpaste, sensing the circular movements of your hand. Most of the time, we brush our teeth while thinking about our to-do list, or rehearsing conversations or worrying about the day ahead. We miss the simple aliveness of this moment in favor of mental activity about other moments. But what if brushing your teeth could become a meditation? Not by trying to make it spiritual, but by simply being present with the physical reality of what you're doing? Try this tonight before bed. When you brush your teeth, see if you can bring your full attention to the sensations. The coolness of the water, the texture of the brush, the minty taste. When your mind wanders to other things, and it will, gently bring your attention back to brushing. You might discover something beautiful when you're fully present with any activity, no matter how mundane. It becomes a doorway to the same peace that Siddhartha found under his tree. Let me tell you about Maria, a nurse who works 12-hour shifts in a busy hospital. She came to one of my talks feeling exhausted and spiritually depleted. "I want to meditate," she said, "but by the time I get home, I'm too tired to sit still. And in the morning, I'm rushing to get to work. When am I supposed to find time for spiritual practice?" I suggested she experiment with finding meditation within her work rather than separate from it. The next time I saw her, she was glowing. "I started really paying attention while I was taking patients' vital signs," she told me. "Instead of just going through the motions, I began to truly see each person. I noticed their breathing, really listened when they spoke, felt genuine care in my heart as I touched their arm to take their pulse. And and something incredible happened. The work that had been draining me started to energize me. I realized I wasn't just checking boxes on a medical chart. I was practicing loving presence with human beings who needed care. Maria discovered what mystics throughout history have known. Any activity, performed with complete presence and loving attention, becomes a spiritual practice. This is the meditation that breathes with you. It doesn't require special clothes or special places or special times. It only requires the willingness to show up fully for your actual life. Walking becomes meditation when you feel your feet touching the ground with each step, when you notice the rhythm of your movement, when you sense the air moving in and out of your lungs. Cooking becomes meditation when you pay attention to the colors and textures of the ingredients, when you listen to the sizzling in the pan, when you appreciate the nourishment you're creating. Even cleaning becomes meditation when you approach it with presence rather than resistance. Feeling the warm, soapy water on your hands as you wash dishes. Noticing how the vacuum cleaner lifts the dirt from the carpet. Appreciating the order and cleanliness you're creating in your space. The key is not what you're doing, but how you're doing it. Are you present with the activity itself, or are you somewhere else mentally while your body goes through the motions? Here's a simple practice you can experiment with. Choose one routine activity, something you do every day, and for the next week, see if you can be completely present while doing it. Maybe it's showering. Instead of planning your day or reviewing yesterday's conversations, feel the water on your skin. Notice the temperature, the pressure, the way the water sounds as it hits the shower floor. Maybe it's driving to work. Instead of listening to news or making phone calls, try driving in silence sometimes. Notice your hands on the steering wheel, your foot on the pedal, the changing scenery outside your windows. Maybe it's eating lunch. Instead of reading or scrolling through your phone, try eating one meal a day in complete silence, paying attention to the flavors, textures, and the simple miracle of nourishment entering your body. You might be surprised by what you discover. When we're truly present with simple activities, they often reveal themselves to be anything but simple. They become doorways into wonder, opportunities for gratitude, moments of unexpected peace. And something else beautiful happens. As you practice presence in small moments, it becomes more available in big moments. The same quality of attention you bring to washing dishes becomes available when you're listening to your teenager talk about their problems. The same presence you discover while walking to your car becomes accessible when you're dealing with a difficult colleague. Life starts to feel less fragmented, less like you're constantly rushing from one thing to the next. Instead, there's a sense of continuity, of being grounded in an awareness that moves with you throughout your day. This is what the ancient sages meant when they spoke of chopping wood, carrying water as the highest spiritual practice. They weren't being metaphorical. They were pointing to the truth that enlightenment isn't found by escaping ordinary life, but by bringing such complete presence to ordinary life that it reveals its extraordinary nature. Your life, exactly as it is your meditation hall. Your daily activities are your spiritual practices. Your relationships, your work, your simple routines, all of it is sacred when approached with loving attention. The invitation is simply this: see if you can remember, again and again, that this moment, whatever it contains, is the only moment you actually have. And that your presence is the gift you can offer to this moment, and to yourself, and to everyone whose life touches yours. We've come full circle now, back to where we started, the breath. But I hope you can feel how different this breath is from the one we began with. It's the same breath, but you're meeting it with new eyes, a new understanding, a new appreciation for its profound simplicity. This breath that's happening right now as you listen, it contains everything we've discovered together. It's completely natural, requiring no effort from you. It's intimately present, available in every moment. It bridges the inner and outer worlds, connecting your deepest self with the world around you. And it never stops teaching. When you're anxious, the breath reminds you that you can return to the present moment. When you're overwhelmed, the breath shows you how to find stillness in the middle of chaos. When you're disconnected, the breath reconnects you with the simple aliveness that you are. Let's take a moment together to feel this. Just breathe naturally and notice how the breath breathes you. Feel how it happens without your control, without your effort, without your management. This is what your whole life can feel like. Natural, effortless, supported by an intelligence much larger than your thinking mind. As we prepare to close our time together, I want to leave you with a simple invitation. For the next few days, see if you can remember to check in with your breath occasionally. Not to control it or improve it, but just to say hello to this faithful companion. When you wake up in the morning, before you get out of bed, take 3 natural breaths and appreciate the fact that life is breathing you into a new day. When you're walking from one place to another, occasionally notice that you're breathing while you walk. Feel the rhythm of breath and steps together. When you're feeling stressed or rushed, remember that you can always return to the breath as a way of returning to the present moment. And when you're falling asleep at night, let your attention rest gently on the breath as it naturally slows and deepens, carrying you peacefully into sleep. This isn't homework or another thing you have to remember to do. It's simply an invitation to maintain friendship with the process that has been sustaining you every moment of your life. The breath is your most intimate teacher, always available, always patient, always ready to remind you of the peace that breathes with you wherever you go. And gradually, so gradually you might not even notice, this simple remembering will change everything. Not because you're trying to change anything, but because presence itself is transformative. You'll find yourself naturally more patient, more aware, more at ease in your own skin. You'll discover that the peace you've been searching for has been as close as your next breath all along. This is the meditation that breathes with you. This is the peace that needs no special conditions. This is the love that recognizes itself in every moment of awareness. Welcome home. As our journey together draws to a close, let's take one more moment to appreciate what we've discovered and to honor the ancient wisdom that continues to breathe new life into our modern hearts. And so we've traveled together on a beautiful journey. From the restless heart that we all know, to the discovery that peace is always right here, as close as our next breath. I want to take a moment to thank you. Thank you for giving a precious hour of your busy life to listen. Thank you for opening your heart to these ancient stories. Thank you for allowing yourself to be reminded of what your heart has always known. In this past hour, we've met a young man sitting under a tree, discovering that meditation isn't something we do, but something we remember. We've seen that peace doesn't need to be created, only uncovered. And we've learned that every breath can become a sacred moment. But most importantly, I hope you've remembered this. You don't need to become someone else to deserve peace. You don't need to wait for perfect circumstances. You don't need to learn more techniques or read more books. Peace is breathing with you right now. It will walk with you when you leave here and return to your life. It will wait for you in difficult moments, ready to embrace you when you remember how to come home to your breath. If these words have touched your heart, I invite you to subscribe to Where Hearts Rest so we can continue this journey together. There are many more healing stories waiting to be shared, much more ancient wisdom waiting to be rediscovered. And if you feel moved to share, please leave a few words in the comments about which moment in today's journey felt meaningful to you. Our community is nourished by authentic sharing like this. Now, as we prepare to say goodbye, breathe with me one last time. Feel this breath as a gift from life to you. Let it remind you that wherever you go, whatever you do, you always carry with you a source of peace that never runs dry. Thank you for allowing your heart to rest with us tonight. Thank you for remembering the beauty of presence. Thank you for being yourself, perfect exactly as you are. Sleep well, beautiful soul. Let your breath carry you into sleep like a gentle lullaby. And remember that every time you breathe, you are coming home to yourself. Until we meet again, let your heart rest in peace.